We're going to talk about persuasive analytics. And I just want to start off by showing you a very simple model, which we're going to go into in detail. We start with reporting. Very easy to do, but really what value added to the business. Then we move into analytics, then into predictive analytics. But the key thing is persuasive analytics. So let me bring each of these to life with some real examples. Let's start with reporting. So this is a real company, and this is the journey they went through. So they used to report 200 different HR-focused statistics. You know, one of them, attrition's gone from 28 to 28.3%. So what? You know, I think there's a real danger that unless we can actually do things that provide actionable insights that drive organizational performance, why are we doing it? Personal story, when I was at Arthur Andersen, I had two people in my team who full-time did reporting. So one month we tried a little experiment. We produced all the reports, but didn't send them to anybody. What I said to my team was, if anybody emails you and asks you for their report, I want you to tell a little lie. We did produce the reports, which is the truth. We sent them out, little lie. But, you know, obviously you didn't get them. So what I'll do is type attach, send. If you check your inbox, you'll find your reports there now. So in chat, what do you think happened when we didn't send our reports out? Anybody got any thoughts? What do you think happened? Nothing. No one noticed. No one asked for them. You know, but we had two full-time people just doing reporting. So after that, we stopped producing the reports because the key thing is they were not making a difference to the business. They were just dashboards, as Maria, you just said. The next stage in the journey is don't start with the HR data. Just because you have the data is not a good reason to analyze it. We need to start with the business. So in this organization, they started with a particular issue identified by the HR business partner, that there was a fall in their particular region. So the HR business partner went to the analytics team to ask them, what was the root cause of the problem? What was actually going on? And they identified a huge amount of issues that were actually underpinning the reduction in sales. The next stage in the process was they developed a retention tool. They took something like 24 different data points around length of service, how long they'd had their manager, where they worked, where they were recruited, et cetera, and turned it into a predictive algorithm that could be used on a monthly basis to actually predict people who are at risk of losing it. But the real value came from taking this report, by the way, not just in HR, but working with the sales and the finance team, taking it to the regional sales director to actually help her identify what the root cause was of the fall in sales and what action she needs to take on a monthly basis to reduce that. The big output of that was she had only ever seen HR as a support function, not a strategic partner. This not only persuaded her to act and improve sales, it persuaded her to change her view of what HR could do for her. So what we're going to talk about is how do you shift to persuading business leaders to do things that actually have an impact on the bottom line and on performance. This is based on some good research I've done, and these were some interesting quotes from some senior HR people, that it wasn't the data that persuaded people. It was the insights, the way they presented them, how much they trusted the person, because it's all about engaging your audience. And in my opinion, you do not engage your audience by every month producing, as that firm started with, some massive report with 200 pieces of data that frankly nobody cares about. So what do we mean by persuasive? I think there are 4 key things you need to think about. First of all, it's no good just presenting the data. You need to present insights. You need to actually persuade them. This is what I would call the interocular test. I don't know how many of you, I wear glasses. I don't know how many of you go regularly for an eye test, but do you know that horrible test where you sort of rest your head and they put this machine and it pumps a bolt of air and you blink? I think we need to make people blink. We need to demonstrate the impact of what we're presenting to them, so they literally blink and stop and think, wow, I'd never thought about that. Equally, we need to keep it simple. And again, I see too much data-heavy presentation, 200 PowerPoint slides, 40 bullet points per slide, and people can't separate the wood from the trees. They need it simplified. And above all, they need something relevant. How does this help me deliver my job? Because I'm sorry, but how many people outside HR really care about HR? By the way, they don't really care about finance or marketing. What do people care about? Again, in chat, what do your business leaders care about? Results. Thank you, Sifat. Sales, profit, their own, absolutely, Richie. They care about their own area. If you can provide them with high impact, simple insights that are relevant, that help them deliver their numbers, they will love you. And I come back to my story. That was the outcome, is it didn't just result in a business difference, it resulted in a complete shift from that sales director and how she viewed HR as a true support. So let's talk about this. How do we use the data to tell really great stories? Now, we all talk about this is new. Now, it's kind of interesting. My first job was 44 years ago. This might come as a shock to some of you, but we had data in those days. We had computers. They were about the size of a whole building. I changed to my career. I started in ODHR 30 years ago, and I hear people talk about the future of HR is data. Well, it was the current reality of our lives 30 years ago. So I think we shouldn't just look at the new. We need to go back, and I would start, bizarrely, with Aristotle. I would go back to his work on the art of rhetoric. If we're going to persuade, we need to think about 4 things. The data matters. You know, we do need to produce and base what we're doing on good data. And I passionately believe the days of going to the business and saying, oh, my gut instinct says, I don't think it's good enough. We need to base things on evidence. I know, Mike, all of us at CRF are passionate about evidence-based HR. And actually, we're going to be doing some work on that in the future. But logos isn't enough. Ethos. People have to believe you. It's very difficult, if they don't know you and they don't trust you, to go with some massive data table and expect to persuade them to do something different. Also, we're dealing with human beings. And I don't know about you, but if somebody just presents something really dry to me with no emotion in it, it doesn't persuade me. So we need to use pathos as well to really wake people up and persuade them to do something. Now, up until 6 months ago, I thought the art of rhetoric had 3 elements to it. But a good friend of mine, Darren Briggs, who's an expert at storytelling, I would, by the way, recommend his recent book, Nimblicity. It's fascinating about how you communicate. He taught me there is a 4th element, kairos, getting the timing right. And when I reflect back on my career, too often I would just choose the wrong moment to go in. I remember once having a meeting with the chief executive at Vodafone. I was trying to persuade him of something, and his PA warned me, said, Arun's really busy. He's got a flight to Dusseldorf from Farnborough. He's in a really stressed mood. So what do you think I did? I went in and had the meeting with him. And what do you think the outcome was? It was a total disaster. He wasn't listening. I should have thought, by the way, I asked somebody once what I should have done, and they had a brilliant thing. They said, what you should have done was offer to drive him to Farnborough. That is, by the way, political savvy. That's great HR. So let's think a little bit about logos, ethos, and pathos. We can't represent timing here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share 3 stories from 3 HR business partners on how they went about persuading a business leader. What I'd love you to do in chat, when you've heard to each little clip, what I'd love you to do in chat is, first of all, tell me if it was ethos, logos, or pathos, and pop into chat what you would have done, to persuade the person. We won't be able to get feedback on it, but Carmen's going to use all of that feedback in the post-meeting notes to capture your thinking. So here we go. First clip, ethos, logos, or pathos.
Only last week, I was in our South London store, and I could see how much our people are struggling with the new rostering process. One person came up to me in tears and told me how, as a single mother, she's struggling to arrange childcare and how it has become almost impossible to do this. Now she doesn't know from week to week what hours she'll be working. We need to reconsider this new process.
So correct, everybody's identified it's pathos. But what, again, pop into chat, what would you have done in this situation? Is that enough? If you were a business leader, would you be persuaded to change the rostering system? So here are some thoughts from me. It is a powerful emotional story. It really connects. But Maria, you're absolutely right. Where's the logos? Where's the data? And again, does the new process actually impact on the business? Is it actually having an impact on customer satisfaction, customer retention, on sales? Is there a relationship between morale, attrition, customer service, productivity, and store profitability? Because we should be starting with store profitability, not just with an HR process. So giving a little bit of logos is going to be more persuasive, but it's even more fundamental. Is this a big problem across the whole business, or is it just in this one store? And what should we do about it? And again, I love your point, Helen. This is all about being more commercial. That's what we need to think about. So here we go. Second.
In the last month, attrition in our South London store has risen from 22.36% to 26.19%. We must do something about it. So I'm looking for your support.
So Dorothea, everybody else, logos, exactly. What would you have done differently? Is that enough? Is providing that statistic enough? You know, I would ask the question, so what? What's the story behind it? You know, where's the benchmark? Exactly, Antoine. You know, is it good or bad? Is it actually getting worse? What's the trend over time? More importantly, does it matter? Is it actually leading to a change in customer service, footfall, profitability, etc.? Is it actually worth worrying about? And it's about insights. She hasn't actually made any recommendations. And Liz, I love it. You know, selling houses, location, 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 getting this right. And by the way, getting HR right, context, context, context. And it's the commercial context. So Last one, I think you can probably guess what this one is going to be. But again, logos, ethos, pathos.
You know me. I've worked here for 20 years and have a deep commitment to the business, to its values and its success. I have a gut feeling that we have a problem with the manager of our South London store. She's only been there a few weeks, but she doesn't seem to fit our culture. So I think we need to reconsider her appointment and bring in a manager who is one of us.
So my apologies, you couldn't hear this well. It will be in the post-minute meeting notes, so you'll be able to hear it better. But this is about ethos. You know, what she talks about is trust me. You know, is again that good enough? Where's the evidence-based recommendation? Again, we need a little bit more logos. And again, I think we need to start, is there a business problem and what's causing it? And is this a problem across the whole business? This again is the power of using data at that top level to get beyond the insights and the relationships of individual business leaders, individual HR business partners, to understand what's the message for the whole organization.